Welcome to Reading Africa. Today we're going to read about the Rozvi Empire. The Rozvi Empire was established on Zimbabwe's plateau by Changamire Dombo. The term Rozvi refers to their legacy as a warrior nation, taken from the Shona term called Rozva or to plunder. The Rozvi conquest was started in 1660 and stopped in 1889. Its religion was belief in Maori, its government was an absolute monarchy, and its inhabitants were about 1 million by the 1700s. Changamire Dombo brought the whole of present-day Zimbabwe under his control, forming a polity that began known as the Rozvi Empire. This powerful kingdom of warriors was to be known as the Rozvi or Walozwi people. They established their capital at Danagombe, also known as Lolo, the Ndebele name. Many sources see the Rozvi as a recovering segment of the Mutapa people, but in fact are people in their own right emerging under the wing of Mutapa. Compare the rise of Khumalo from under the Zulu nation. The administrative power of the Mutapa began to fail in its control of the whole empire, and the tributaries began to exert more independence. A leader of the people of the Guruswa, given the title Changamire and known as Dombo, became independent from Mutapa. When these Portuguese tried to colonize them, Changamire Dombo led rebellions against their rule. The area of the Rozvi Empire fluctuated. Its influence extended over much of present-day Zimbabwe, westward into Botswana and southward into northeastern South Africa. The Rozvi leader Changamire Dombo was originally a headsman in the Mutapa state, yet managed to drive away the Portuguese, earning himself support and followers, thereby enabling him to break away from the legendary Mutapa Empire. Changamire Dombo, according to oral tradition, is believed to have possessed supernatural powers. He was said to be able to turn a white cow into a red one. His magical ability made him feared by people and earned him respect and even more followers. The name Changamire became the honor name for all kings who followed after him. The Rozvi's political system was hierarchical. Kingship followed a male line, and the king was the highest political, religious, military, economic, judicial and social authority, as well as the main distributor of land. The king was helped to rule by an advisor council made up of state officials appointed by him. This consisted of his most senior wives, the crown prince, the Tubare, religious leaders, military commanders, and also vassals, chiefs. The Rozvi Empire eventually became the most powerful empire in present-day Zimbabwe. The Rozvi kings revived the tradition of building in stone and constructed impressive cities, known now as Zimbabwe's, throughout the southwest. Monochrome pottery was also emblematic of its culture. The Rozvi Empire had many economic branches, but agriculture was its backbone. It planted crops such as sorghum, millet, and the state depended heavily on subsistence farming. Trade was another important economic activity, and the Rozvi practiced both internal and external trade. From foreign traders they obtained important goods such as guns, salt, beads, and seashells. In return, they bartered ivory, copper, and gold. Mining was another major branch and was done by males. The warriors were armed with spears, shields, bows, arrows, and they raided others or defended their estate. The warriors were known to be violent. This earned them the name Rozvi, meaning plunderers or destroyers. The Rozvi established connections with Arab traders in which valuable items such as gold, copper, ivory were exchanged for important luxury goods. Records from the Portuguese show that Rozvi were sophisticated military strategists. They were noted for using the cow-hone formation years before the great Zulu leader Shaka Zulu adopted it in the 19th century. Armed with spears, shields, bows and arrows, the aggressive Rozvi took over the Zimbabwe plateau. In 1683, the Rozvi Empire had managed to take control over from the Portuguese militia who had tried to control the gold trade in the interior of Africa by invading the Rozvi Empire. The Rozvi, armed with the national spears and shields, were able to successfully defeat these attacks and maintain their control of gold mines under the empire. The Rozvi were led by Changamire Dombo and his son Changamire Dombo, whose power was based in Butai in the southwest of Africa. However, by the late 1700s and early 1800s, the Rozvi Empire faced a number of challenges. The empire, like the Mutapa Empire, was federal in nature, and political tensions between allied kingdoms and the ruling dynasty resulted in some kingdoms and chieftainship breaking away from the empire. Internal palace revolutions and constant attacks from the Magwato placed increased political pressure on the empire. Two major droughts, one in 1795 and 1800 and 1829 to 1829, contributed to the worsening political instability, as the demand for gold decreased in the long-term trading partners such as the Portuguese. The Shona tradition of gold mining and trading, which had lasted for almost a millennium, declined, and with it the power held by the central governments like the Rozvi started to weaken. On top of all the challenges, the 1830s were a time of multiple invasions and wars that the Rozvi Empire never recovered completely from. In the area of modern-day South Africa, a number of events resulted in a mass exodus, drought, invading Dutch settlers, and the catastrophic aftermath of the Fekan resulted in waves of Guni tribes moving north. Successive attacks on the empire by the armies of Panga, Ngwana, Maseko, and Zwangendawa were repelled, driving off the attackers, but a great deal of damage had been done. Without any time to recover, another wave of attacks by a group led by the Swazi Queen resulted in the capture of the capital, Manyanga, and the murder of the Rozvi Mambo, Chirisamhuru. Still, contrary to the established narrative, this was the end of the Rozvi Empire. Mzilikazi realized that even though some of the Rozvi nobility had accepted him as the new king, the majority of the Shona did not accept him, limiting the geographic area of the kingdom. Taking a diplomatic approach, he sent word to Toweshipi, asking him to return home and submit to him, crowning him king of the Shona. Toweshipi did not accept Mzilikazi's offer, later died in a battle in 1869, and this was the end of the Empire of the Rozvi. This is the end of the reading of the Rozvi Empire. Thank you for listening.